Thinking of starting a business but don't know where to start? We're going to give you all the helpful hints you need to know so you can make your business scalable, and when you're ready to sell, you'll have something to sell. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. I'm Diane, and with me today is Linette Dobbins, President and Chief Compliance Officer with McGee Wealth Management, a nationally recognized financial planning firm, advisory firm here in Portland. And who better to talk to about going into business for yourself, all the things you don't know, you don't know, you don't know. How about that?
Yeah.
So I see on Shark Tank, they say all the time, is your business scalable? And I don't know what that means, but it sounds like it's important. So is that something people need to know right off the bat? Like, what's scalable mean, and do they need to have that?
Well, I say, when you're starting a business, begin with the end in mind, but have your exit plan in there. Some people build a business to sell a business, to build another business to sell a business. Other people build a business to work in it, to provide cash flow, and then maybe sell it someday. And other people might just be in a service where they're really, looking at the cash flow, but really don't think they'll have anything from it at the end. So know that going in, what kind of a business you want. So scalable, if you're building a business, if you want to be the next Steve Jobs of Apple or the next Starbucks or whatever that happens to be, scalable means, how do I grow my business? How do I grow it consistently? What do I need? What people do I need? What cash flow do I need? Do I need investors? How do you scale? Because we can only do so much ourselves. If we only have so much time in a day. And I always say it needs to be scalable, but it needs to be replicable, and it needs to be transferable. So in order to be scalable, you need to also make it replicable, meaning that other people can do what you do. So have good processes in place. Be very clear about what it is that you do. How do I teach somebody else to do what I do? The best businesses, the most successful businesses, can exist without the owner or the entrepreneur there, that it has a life of its own.
So you need a long-term plan, a business plan.
Exactly.
And in reading about some statistics, I read in Inc. magazine, a 2015 article reported that 26 million people own their own business, and by 2020 it's projected that 65 million people will own their own business. And with all these people owning their own business, probably, I'm just imagining striking out on their own, going, hey, I can do this myself, not really thinking long term, or not really worrying about selling it, worrying about making enough money to get through the month.
Right. So we see a lot of people starting their own business that have been in the corporate world. There's a big trend for downsizing and to have younger workforce in corporate America. So if you're 50, 55 and above, you may not be prepared to retire, and you have a lot to offer, a lot of wisdom to impart on other people. So a lot of these types of people are becoming consultants, entrepreneurs, going on to other things. Millennials that are getting out of college and they're not getting the jobs that they want. They're becoming more and more entrepreneurial.
So a lot of people are going into business for themselves. It's almost because they have to.
Yeah.
They're either getting laid off, or that job isn't available that they went to school for, or working corporate sometimes can just be a pain for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and they want flexibility. You see a lot of moms that need that flexibility, and childcare resources are difficult. So there's a lot of that. And with the new tools that we have, technology, in the last 10 years, this is the 10th anniversary of the iPhone. And
wow.
with that, we have the ability to swipe a credit card. I remember being in business 20 some years ago and talking to the bank about, having a credit card machine. It was like a major deal to go through all the financial hoops to get a credit card machine, and now you can get Square. You don't have to have a financial history, you can just get it.
You can actually work out of your car. You don't even need an office, right?
Yeah, your car, you can work in out of Starbucks.
That's
a
true,
lot of
right?
People do. So it's pretty
free rent.
Pretty amazing. So that flexibility. So being portable, having that.
So what about a loan? Now, I talked to a business owner one time, and he is very successful, but he says he takes out a loan all the time, short-term loan, and pays it back. He doesn't need it, but he said that's part of the game he plays, because when he does need it, he'll have a great track record for paying back his loans. So would you recommend that people look at that?
I do. So if you're currently in a job today and you're thinking about starting your own business, set up your credit while you have a paycheck. Because if you're trying to get credit without doing that first 2 years, it's really difficult. So if you own a home, take out a home equity line of credit. If you take out a business credit card, you're personally guaranteeing that they can look at your other income. And so having that credit with your business is really important. Unsecured lines of credit are really difficult to get. We've had one in our business for decades. So we borrow against it, pay it off, borrow against it, because you need to keep it active or the bank will take it away. So if you don't use your credit, they take it away.
Got it. Okay. So what about business owners that want to someday pass it down to their children, the business? Is there a certain type of way to set it up? I mean, I know there's LLCs and S-corps and different types of businesses. How do you know how to start your business?
Yeah. So when we first start our business, most people do it under their own Social Security number, and they call that a Schedule C. It's just sole proprietor business. As your business becomes more sophisticated, or you want to have a little bit more protection under an entity shell, you could do a solo limited liability company. That's one owner. It's still on your Schedule C, but it's an LLC. As that business grows, the LLC can transfer to more of a sub-S type of structure.
How
or
do you
a
know when
partnership.
that should happen?
It's when you get more than one owner
in
the business. So if you have more than one owner, then you have to change that type of entity. So the sub-S and LLC, when you have multiple owners, are similar. They have slightly different rules, and an attorney and or a CPA could really explain those rules to you. But I really think that you need to consult with professionals and when you're setting up your business to know what the best strategy for you is. Is it a personal service company? Are you selling something? Are you manufacturing? Those will be different needs and different types of structures.
Okay, so what if someone sets it up one way because they didn't consult, and they're watching this show and they're going, can you change it? Like, let's say you set it up one way and it's not quite right for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can definitely change it. If you're a C corporation, changing to an S corporation, there's certain ways to do that, and there's a period of time of that structure comes over from 5 to 10 years. So it's a long time horizon. And your question about how do you pass that on? So the transition or being transferable to business, it's, do you have family working in the business? And so you can start to gift shares or have your family members buy in if you're working with children. And there's some complexity if we have more than one child, and one child's working in the business and other children are not. So some people are like, well, my estate planning, do I want to equalize that at all?
So there's a lot of considerations too.
Yeah, how do we treat the kids equally or fairly? And fair isn't always equal.
Right. Yeah, you talk about that a lot, and I think that comes from you counseling a lot of multi-generational families, or even just families in relationship with each other, where there might be a disparity in assets or income. Yes, right. Okay. So, wow, this is a lot to absorb, because I was reading an article, and it was about eBay people that sell on eBay, and have you heard of the company Nasty Gal? I know it's sort of a crazy company name, but she started selling vintage clothes on eBay. She now is a billionaire. So it went from that to that. Now there was a long journey in between. But so, it can be done. And I saw the income from these people. They were making $80,000 a year, 100 and some thousand a year. So and I don't, if you're just selling on eBay, you're just reselling stuff.
Right.
Do you need to, at that point in the beginning, and then I want to get into taxes, because that's an issue too. Do you need to set it up as a certain type of a company in the beginning, or just start out with your Social Security and see how it goes?
I would start out with a Schedule C and see how it goes.
Okay.
And see, because you don't know if you're going to be successful.
Right.
And so it doesn't make sense really to invest a lot of money in another structure. Or you can set it up as a LLC pretty simply. And that usually an attorney will write up your LLC operating agreement for maybe $1,500 to $2,000. So you have that investment, making sure that you're registered with the city or state that you're doing business in, that you have a business entity. If you're using your own name, that's not necessary. But if you're doing anything as doing business as, let's say I'm Linette Dobbins doing business as Blue Sky Consulting, then I need to make sure that I have that business registration.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really good to know,
Yes.
too. Okay, so I want to ask you the big questions about some IRS stuff. So we are going to take a break, and we'll be right back. We're Inspired Conversations. I'm Diane. I'm talking with Linette Dobbins, and we're talking about making sure you make the right decisions to set up your business for the best benefit to you and whoever you pass your business on to. We'll be right back.
We have a long line of matriarchal women in our family that I've learned from. My great-grandmother sold life insurance in the 1930s and was a traveling saleswoman. My mother, who is also my business partner, is a pioneer in our industry. I am Linette Dobbins, president of McGee Wealth Management and co-branch manager of Raymond James Financial Services. My advisory style is to be champion of all things possible, listen to our clients, and see what it is that they really want.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. I'm with Linette Dobbins, President and CCO of McGee Wealth Management, a financial advisory firm here in the Portland area. And when we left off, we were talking a little bit about taxes, and you've got some pretty important advice to give about taxes and people in business for themselves.
Exactly. Statistically, businesses fail because they don't pay their taxes. You know, we get that money coming in, and we think that, you know, money comes in and we can spend it. So we have to think, if we're making something, we have to save some money to make the next product, or if we're buying something to resell, we need to make sure that we have that. But we also need to make sure that we're paying our taxes along the way.
Because no one's going to tell you to, right? I mean, you may get advice to, but you're not going to get a bill in the mail as you go along.
No,
Okay.
and it's not coming out of on your W-2, out of your, you know, collecting from an employer out of your wages. So you have your income tax depending on your structure, and you have your self-employment tax. So if we're a sub-S, an LLC, a sole proprietorship, you know, we're paying both sides of the Social Security, which is 15.3%, versus when we're an employee, we pay half of that, and our employer pays the other half.
Okay.
So you really need to pay attention to those cash flows and set aside that tax along the way.
Okay, right. Wow. Okay. So people are building their business up to what makes a business saleable?
So business saleable, there's two ways to look at it. People are buying your cash flow and your assets, and sometimes they're buying your reputation. So which we call blue sky value, right?
Okay.
So most of us think our businesses are worth more than they might be. And depending on what kind of business we have and how we have it structured, the investment that we've made in our business along the way, in our technology, our branding, our products, you know, how old is our equipment, all of those things, what's our net cash flow? If we're draining all the money out of the business and the business doesn't show a net cash flow, then it's not very sellable. So you really need to look at, it's okay to pay some taxes, because we really need to make sure that we do that. Other mistakes that I see people make in small businesses, and I've seen this with fishermen and contractors and different types, is that they feel like the whole idea is we want to make the best living we can and not pay any taxes. So if they don't pay taxes, they're not paying self-employment tax, which is your Social Security and your Medicare tax. And you need 10 quarters of your Social Security and Medicare tax in order to collect anything from the government on the other end. So if you don't pay in, you don't get back, and it makes it very difficult to have any disability if something happens from the government, or to get medical when you're older if you didn't pay anything in.
Wow.
So pay a little tax. It's a good thing to do.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you impressed. I'm glad you said it the way you said it, because I think now people get that's very, very important.
And paying more tax means you're more successful. So, I know it's painful to write those checks sometimes, but it's, the alternative is worse.
Yeah, it is worse. The lesser of two. Yeah, okay, got it. Okay, so now we have a scalable business, and you've taught us what we need to have for that to happen. And now people are thinking about retirement. So what are the components they need to start putting in place, and when should they start?
So retirement is really important, and I look at it a couple different ways. I'm a small business owner, so I get the small business owner mindset, and I want value from my business when I decide to leave it at some point. And so, but I also don't want to depend on the value of the business for my sole retirement. So there's some things that you can do along the way. Set up a retirement plan. Early on, it might be, depending on how much you can scrape away, it might be just a simple IRA account. You can put 100% of your income away to the $5,500 if you're under 50, $6,500 if you're over 50. And then as you make more money and you can put more away, there's other retirement plan options as you scale up and your business grows. There's many different plans, from 401ks, simple IRAs, profit sharing plans, things like that. So which also save on taxes. You pay FICA, so it doesn't hurt your Social Security, but you get to save on the state and federal income tax and save for retirement. So those monies grow tax deferred until you take them out. So look at money that you can set aside for after tax that you can use in your business, but is also or other things in your family life, retirement assets, and then your business asset, and then your home or other real estate assets. So if you're a business owner, you really have 4 buckets of investment vehicles for retirement later on.
Okay, and so now we're ready to sell our business, and we're going to get a chunk of money. What do we need to know about that?
Well, you need to know a lot, and you need to have some advisors. And there's 3 different aspects to selling your business. One is the financial, so that's how much do I need out of the business, what is it worth, what's my cash flow going to be, the taxes. The legal, what's the structure of my deal, am I being protected, what's my liability, do I have to stay in the business longer? All of those things on that deal structure.
Also some people, sorry to interrupt, but
No problem.
This just happened. A friend of mine had this experience, and she was talking to me about it. She had to sign a non-compete clause, so that she couldn't go back into business in a certain geographical area. And she kind of wants to, because the person who bought the business isn't really doing it, but she's sort of hamstrung, you know?
Exactly. So, and if I'm buying a business, that's exactly, I don't want to sell my business and then have my person I bought it from set up shop next door and compete with me.
Right.
So those things are important. Usually it's 2 to 5 years on those non-competes, non-disclosure agreements, non-solicitation. The other piece is psychological. So we have a retirement ready test. Are you ready to retire? Are you ready financially? Are you ready emotionally? Do you have a vision beyond your business? Because most people who are entrepreneurial and small business owners, especially first generation, their life and their worth is that they're not their value as far as dollar worth, but their worth is tied up into that business.
Yeah, it's the identity. It's your identity. It's who you become.
Right.
And a lot of people who go into business for themselves, they do it because maybe it's their special gift, or they're compelled to do it because they feel extra special about their own talent.
Exactly.
So I can see how that would then become your identity.
And you're passionate about it. I mean, really, this is my baby.
Yeah.
I birthed it. I grew it. I'm protective of it, and I'm not going to trust it to somebody else and hand it over and watch them screw it up.
Right.
So they want to hang on. And so that's the hardest thing to do, is to let go. And as business owners, we're in control. So, for us control freaks, it's a great deal. But in
Yeah.
giving up that control.
That lifestyle change is kind of hard for me to actually imagine right now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what do I do now?
Serial entrepreneurs don't have a problem with that. You know, they're the business builders, and they want to build it and get rid of it and build. They're like that.
They're
mountain
always
climber
going to be
looking at
doing
the next mountain, right?
Always going to be doing something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
If that's okay for your health.
Yeah. And then you have the Warren Buffetts of the world, you know, are working into their 80s and 90s, and they're going to go out feet first. And then there's the people who maybe they really want to exit the business while they have some health left or life left, or maybe they have a health event and they need to transition. Transition takes time. Doing this takes time. It's not something that you can say, give a 30-day notice and I'm ready to go. So you really need to think about it ahead of time. Have a good financial plan. Have somebody, if you're not there emotionally or psychologically, get help there. It can be a good business coach. It can be a psychologist, a counselor, but having your team in place. So having your CPA look at things, having your attorney, the right attorney, look at the business succession plan that you've put in place. And sometimes people walk through down this door, they get ready to sign docs, and then it falls apart. It falls apart for many reasons. It falls apart because values aren't aligned, or the price isn't right, or something. And we always, when we're selling the business, we may not get the full price that we sold it for all at once. We might get a down payment, there might be an earnout, there might be time in the business that you need to spend before, and the business has to maintain success before they pay you the final amount.
And then you're going to be paying taxes on this.
And taxes, and your taxes, and depending on how the structure of the deal is, it could be capital gain or it could be ordinary income. So you really want to be careful about how you structure that.
Wow, that's a lot of information, but very valuable information. So we're out of time, so I want to thank you so much for coming and helping us understand this, because 65 million people will pretty much are going to be in business for themselves. Absolutely. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Audience, you are watching Inspired Conversations. I'm Diane, and we will see you next time.